Recording is on.
Cool. My name is Precious Onyewuchi. I'm the co-lead for the GDG Enugu community. And today I have really cool people on the call with me. There is Elio Godsend, there is Purity Ude, there's Amanda Onunze, who her video is currently on, and then there is Kosachuku Nzako. So two people here have experience as founders, although they also have like general experience like in the software engineering industry and category. And then the other two are product managers. So it's like a balance to give you two sides of the coin to learn about building amazing products. Um, I would be introducing Amanda first. So Amanda is a product manager that is passionate about building user-centered solutions that truly work. Products that make life easier for everyday users while driving business growth and improving operational efficiency. She enjoys connecting the dots between user needs, data, and design to create products that deliver real value. Outside of product management, Amanda explores her creative side through voice acting and music, where she continues to experiment with how technology and storytelling shape human experiences. Personally, you should see Amanda play a guitar. It's amazing. But yeah, but yes,
So
that's
thank
me.
you, Precious.
Yeah. Um.
Thank you, Precious. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the call. Really glad that you joined, and I'm looking forward to having an amazing conversation with the fellow speakers and maybe the audience as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. So I'm going to introduce a founder next. We'll just be taking turns like that. Next person I'm introducing is Kosi Sochuku. Kosi Sochuku, can we call you Kosi? Cool. Okay.
Yeah,
No, I would say
works.
Kosinzako because Kosinzako is like a lot of syllables. Um. Okay. So Kosi is a solution-driven engineer with a strong passion for leveraging technology to address local challenges. I think that's a very nice specificity, like say local challenges. So it's building for Africa. Okay. And he currently works as a senior Android engineer at, is this pronounced Demois? Okay, Demos. Okay. Over the years, Kosi has co-founded and contributed to the growth of several startups. You take note of that. Yeah. And then he's building impactful solutions that empower communities and businesses alike. Beyond his professional work, he has been actively involved in the developer community, serving as a member and leader in initiatives such as the Google Developer Students Club, which is like GDG, but for students, and then Facebook developer circles. The last time I heard about this community, we were still up and coming. So he's like an OG before IG. Okay. And then the Andela learning communities, another OG before IG community. So you know that he's like deep into the ecosystem. Yeah. Cool. With a strong background in products development and a passion for fostering the tech ecosystem, Kosi is an active contributor to various initiatives aimed at empowering the next generation of tech leaders. His expertise lies in bridging the gap between cutting edge technology and practical applications, always with an eye towards building impactful and user centric products. If you're looking for him on LinkedIn, it's on Kosi Sachukunzaku. Kosi, please can you say hi to our audience?
When you were reading my introduction, I wonder if I wrote all that.
What?
Hello, everybody. My name is Kosi, and hope looking forward to a wonderful.
Thank you so much. So, next person I'm going to introduce. Oh, thank you for that effect. That's really nice. Thank you. Um, so next person I'm going to introduce is Elio. I asked Elio for his bio, and he decided to be very eccentric with it. I'm just going to pick the parts that I put up for this call. All right. So first of all, you need to see the drama that it begins with. Greatly endued with a heart for providing solutions and impacting lives. He is witty, eclectic. Elia, what's this word? Inimitable? You're going to have to tell us the definition of that word. I'm brilliant. If you call yourself brilliant, that's a very bold move. But I agree to each. I know you personally, so that's cool. He's an entrepreneur, a software developer, a founder, a leader, and a visionary, amongst many other crowns he probably wears. Okay. Elel is the founder of White Eye that has very interesting ways that it's pronounced. And it's a software company and a real loft, sorry, a prop tech solution. So he has two companies that he currently founds. And then he's on the mission of providing simple solutions to everyday people. And then he says we should welcome the great, the mighty, the priest and the king. Elio, you say hi.
Um, Hi, hello everybody, good evening. That's me, my name is Elio.
That's
I
it.
thought that intro was gonna be something. Oh yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so our last person is Purity, who is a product manager. Purity is one of those people that wears many and like wears many hats. Is not because they are saying it. It's like it's true. So she's like a product manager. She's a programmer, software developer. Anything you need Purity to do, she will do it. It's all this, you know that saying that people say, "Bring and come." I go tell you the one what they do. So yeah, that's Purity. I know her also personally because she's very involved in communities too, and then like she's generally like a she's a glue that bridges gaps. Generally, what product managers do, and then she's the person that keeps the company running. And that's a bold statement, sha, but it's true. Please, Spirit, to say hi to our audience. You're muted.
Can you guys hear me now? Hello?
Now I'm muted. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Purity. Nice to meet everybody.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm just going to go straight to the point. First of all, thank you all so much for giving me your time and agreeing to be here and being very patient with the initial issues with audio. Very thankful. And I'm going to go straight to the point and ask you questions. So the topic of today is building amazing products for everyday users, right? My first question would be understanding how you all define amazing products. How would you define amazing products? So I'm going to start with on my screen. I'll start with Kosi. Then after Kosi, we'll go to Amanda. Then after Amanda, Elio. Then we'll go to Purity.
Okay. Thank you. So, an amazing product, I think an amazing product would be product that is considered great by different sets of people. So, for example, if I'm using a device or a software solution, I'm the user. So if it solves all my problems or if it meets all my needs, that is a great product for me. The co-creators or the managers or the maintainers or the owners of the product, if it targets their audience or meets their definition of product market fit, and if it pays its bill and provides profits and dividend, that is a great product for the company. So a product that meets both the objectives of the user and producers or the creators, I think that's what defines an amazing product. So you can have a product that is good for its users, but it's not financially maintainable or it's not sustainable. That is a good product, but it's not an amazing product. There are also products that have been institutionalized, and I think we know some of those products. If you work for some big corporates, you are forced to use them because that's company policy, but it's not necessarily an amazing product. It's making money for those who use it, or I mean, who produced it. It's a lifeline, but it doesn't necessarily meet the objectives of the user. It's not dynamic enough with the emerging problems of the user. So that is what I would define an amazing product as, a product that meets both the needs of the producers and the users. Thank you.
That's so cool. Thank you so much, Kosi. So basically, it's not enough that it works for the users. It has to both work for the users and then the shareholders. Amazing. Amanda.
Okay, so my definition of an amazing product, very simply put, is a product that just works. And what I mean by that is sometimes you encounter a product and in their efforts to be innovative, creative, some very core functional things might just be falling apart, right? And I also say this because I manage a product that, you know, forces me to see that side of things where things just break, right? So, ideally, I would define an amazing product as one that solves a user's problem in the most efficient and easiest way possible, right? Um, in my idea, a successful and amazing product is one that enables the user to complete whatever they wanted to do without needing to reach out to support teams to just get things done, right? So whichever way that allows users to complete or achieve their goal using a product with the least stress and the least effort, that to me is an amazing product. And of course, obviously delivering value to the business as well. Once the user is satisfied and the business is satisfied, I think that makes up a good product. So yeah, that's it from me.
Cool. Thank you. I like that. It's like a tagline, a product that just works and is efficient for both for the users. That's cool. Thank you. Elio, how would you define an amazing product?
I was trying to find through my notes because I must have written something about this somewhere in my notes, but I couldn't find it just in time. But like everybody has said, what I call an amazing product is something that provides the basic core initial value, and on top of that, then adds extra layers of value or excellence in its features or offerings, right? You know, if you want to move from point A to point B, you'll possibly need products like Uber, Bolt, and InDrive, right? And on top of that value of logistics or moving from point A to point B, there are other things like security while you're moving from point A to point B, right? So that I would say is an amazing product. It meets the very core basic value that it should meet. And on top of that, it builds on top of it to give you more value offerings. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you. So like does the basic thing and then adds a little sprinkle on top. Amazing. Purity. How would you define an amazing product?
All right, I think they've basically said it all, and I see an amazing product as a coin that has two sides. One is the internal side, which is the team, which not all the users see. The other one is the one that the users see. I mean, the product which is able to meet the objective, the goal, and for the team, and then also meet the objective and the goal which we projected for the user, which is solving the user's need, their pain points, and the rest of it. In a situation where a user is not able to use what your team built, so it wouldn't be considered as as an amazing product. It would just be a product that you just dished out basically because you want them to use it, but it's not really amazing because they're not able to use it. And at the end of the day, internally, the shareholders and stakeholders, sorry, are not happy about the result of it. So when a product is able to meet the sides of the coin, is what I consider as an amazing product.
I like when you meet the example of the two sides of the coin. One part is the users that obviously you're giving the products to, and the second part is the team that is building it, because that's like a good build up to my next question, right? Because so my next question is, what would you say it takes to build an amazing product? Like this is behind the other side of the coin that we don't see, like the behind the scenes, the skill sets, the processes, all the almost about to pull your hair type of emotions. Yeah,
Yeah.
like what would you say it takes to build like a great product?
Okay. So using the coin as an example, um, we have the process. It takes like a lot of village. I mean, they say it takes a village to build something, right? So the village are like the team, the developers, designers, and the rest of it. They are like bunch of work to do as a PM, right? And uh, internally, you guys are able to sketch out what why the user need this product, how are you solving this? Are you going to solve this problem to give a solution to the users? And how are they going to use it? Right? It's first being you and your team being able to understand the problem or the process which you're going to carry out. And that is mapping out what I've mentioned: why, how, and what. And then build based on the research and the results you got. So my answer is result driven and putting empathy to a product that you're building. Because when you get the why of a product, you put your why into consideration. Why am I building this product? Or we use Paystack now. I mean, Paystack is everywhere. And at the end of the day, when you ask somebody what payment gateway did you use, and somebody would tell you Paystack, there is like a lot of chaos that goes behind the scenes, right? It has to do with designers, developers, and whatnot. The marketers pushing out pushing out that product to users. So, but what goes behind it is them being able to define why that product should be users' first considered products. I mean, if I ask 5 persons now, they are using Paystack, to be very honest. But there is some considerations. There's quite a lot of questions that were put behind the scenes that you as a user, you might not really think before you use the product. All you need is the product. But then they have to consider what you need, how you're going to use it. Is it going to be accessible to all of them? I mean, they say that they're African best, whatever payments gateway and stuff. So, but what are they doing to demonstrate what they've called themselves is what is behind the scenes. And as a PM, I've encountered it trying to build a product to meet up to the standard of my competitors. I mean, I have to put a lot of things in questions and put my team member in position to be able to solve that solution to users. I think the answer.
Sorry, admitted. Yeah. I like the part about being result driven. So making sure that you actually are matching whatever it is that you say you want to build and then adding empathy to the end of it. That's cool. Kosi, you founder. Purity mentioned understanding the problem, what, why, how, and then building based on that. What would you say it takes to understand everyday users? Like their trends, their habits, like what do you think aside from okay, help me fill this form? Like generally you can tell that whenever people want to build a new product, you see forms going around and they say, help me know what this might look like for you. And you use that to probably add features. But what would you say it takes to like understand users? Because people are very dynamic and we change. Now everybody's saying, umuna, what's that? Umuna clock it. I don't know. Yeah, so like that's one trend. And by next month, a new trend is going to come up. And your app is not going to change every month. But yeah, like how do you navigate these things?
Um, okay, thank you. So, personally, I don't use forms. I don't use analytics. You have to do the legwork to understand users. The faster you release your minimum testable products or minimum viable products and have real users using your product, the faster you start learning them. There's something called the OODA loop, which is observe, orient, learn, and reiterate again. So the O means observe. The second O means orient. The D there means to decipher or to devise the next iteration and then assess again. So it's like a product adaptation of what we have in the scientific theory, where you observe a problem, you make a hypothesis, then you experiment the hypothesis, you theorize again, you go over again. So if you're solving real human problems, you need to put yourself in the shoes of those human beings. So if you cannot put yourself in the shoes of those human beings, you release, hypothesize and bring out theories, test those theories with your minimum testable product or something, a sketch, a wireframe, put it in the hands of those users and observe them use it and have them ask you questions. Um, I'm going to use the Christian analogy to put it. The entire Bible can be summarized into the Epiphanies, which is God showing himself to people. the entire story of human redemption, according to the Bible, is God looking to call His people back. He tried through many prophets, but what did He do? He sent His own Son. He immortalized Himself, became man to experience this life as a human being and a God. That is the greatest, you know, product research theory ever told. So that is that's what I would say. If any product I'm building, I always tell my teams, I always tell Godson, what is the fastest and quickest way to get out something working? How can we get people using it? As they're using it, they are complaining. As they're complaining, you're saying thank you. However, the Nigerian market is not a very experimental market because we are very aggressive. So you would have to do your homework, do a very good QA before you release those experimental products and get feedback. And the feedback is not by putting analytics or all those. The only analytical tool I would recommend, which is expensive, is if you have heat map trackers on your web app or your mobile app. If it's a software product, or but most importantly, fix routine calls, ask the users, hey, did you like what we released? How did it go? What about that? And then get feedback. Yeah. So the entire objective when this stops is when you've realized that you've got some product market fit. And like you said, human beings always change. Your product should always change. It's completely doable to release products monthly. In some advanced teams, we release iterations weekly. Yeah. Thank you.
That's a bold. That's a very good way to enter my next question. It's very fine. It's very possible to like update
Oh
every
my
month
God.
depending on your team. Cool, amazing. All right, Elio, you get my next question, and then Amanda, you'd also have the same question. Kosi has said that it's fine and possible if you have the capacity in your team to like iterate every month if there's need for it, right? How do you now decide when to keep things simple or when to introduce something bold or innovative into the product? So obviously now, let's say for instance, it was only Kosi's bio that said he builds for the local market. I don't know. I don't know how like vast your market is, but if you're not dealing with people, let's say you're mixed there, you're mixed with both people that are aggressive-ish, or that you can iterate, and people that you can iterate with as you're going. How you decide? Okay, we can implement these changes now, or let's wait a little bit and let's do things very simple for now. So Elio, you go first, and then Amanda.
Sorry, so just to be sure I have the question correct, you're asking how do you decide when to push features or updates? Is that it?
Yeah, like do you decide? How do you? When do you decide? Okay, you want to move slowly, or you want to just push in new innovative things into the products that you're bringing out?
Um, in a way, to answer that question, it's your investors that decide for you if that's the context, right? I mean, sometimes, well, yeah, that's just a fun question answer, right? Sometimes you're not the one as a founder who says do this, do that. Sometimes it's your backers, the people who are backing you, right? But a more realistic answer would be just like Kosi said, right? Building up from what he said is the more you step into your user's shoes, then the more you can be able to decipher the future. Now you have to be the founder who knows the users, knows where the user currently is. Now it would be great if you someone said investor driven development. Yeah, it happens, man. So you have to be able to be the founder who knows where your users are currently. In most cases, you have to be the founder who knows where your users are currently and knows what they want to do
I think I'm lost, Elio. It's just me. Okay. So I think while we wait for him to join, Amanda, you can give your response, and then whenever he comes, you can finish off. Do you need me to repeat the
Okay.
question?
Oh no, it's fine. I got it. So basically, we're trying to answer the question: how do we know when to keep things simple
Yeah.
or when to go crazy and innovative? To be very honest, I partly agree with Elio in terms of the fact that sometimes it just comes from the business, right? Business says we want to do this, and sometimes you can't say no. But I like to be, what's the word? A bit disagreeable sometimes, right? Because sometimes the business wants something shiny and pretty, but we know that it's going to take a lot more work, a lot more effort, a lot more thought into that idea to really bring it to life, right? So it's not that we can't do these things, but sometimes it just requires a lot more time than the business wants to admit. So, but apart from business and stakeholders, I think what matters to me is ensuring that the core experience of a product works efficiently. I think that's what I care about the most. You could have the prettiest app, you could have crazy animations. You could just have some really interesting things going on. But if it doesn't really affect or improve your experience with that product in the sense that you just achieve your main goal, to me, that's not priority, right? It's just a nice to have. And nice to haves are great when things are working fine. But if it's not, then all that pretty and shiny add-ons will only make your product look bad because then you're pretty, but then you don't work, you know. So I think for me, I prefer to keep things simple when the core experience doesn't work, when the feature is not really where we need it to be in terms of functionality and usability, right? So once we solve those issues, then we can add on the crazy and pretty stuff. But until that works, for me personally, anyways, that's how I prefer to work. Yeah. So I think that's my answer.
I like the answer. I think it's great and it's also very functional. It may not always happen that same way in the real world, but yeah, it is a very functional way to move. Let's see. Actually, my next question is to Kosi. Is he here?
Yeah, of course, it's here.
Okay, hi Kosi. So somebody wrote investor driven development, right? The one that we know that is very popular is Oga driven development. In Nigerian lingo, Oga generally means owner of the shop or like the founder in this sense. So how do you, as a founder, yeah, avoid micromanagement and letting your employees do what they have to do as opposed to what you think they should do?
Okay. Actually, organ-driven development in some cases is investor-driven development masked as the organ. So in some climes, the CEO is called the designated asshole. So he's the one that takes all the blames on behalf of the team when the public are criticizing the company. When the investors are and the stakeholders who are behind cap tables are pushing mounting pressure, he's the asshole for the company because he's now the one changing course. However, the role of a founder is there are different levels of leadership in a company that is set up properly. There is visionary leadership, there's operational leadership, and there's managerial leadership. So operational leadership has to deal with the day-to-day operations of different staff of the company. Managerial leadership is managing the managers. Then visionary leadership is directing the or charting the course of the company or the organization. So the founders are at the visionary level. So monitoring, getting feedback from the those who manage the managers or the direct managers who are the direct reports, and then saying this is where we should go, this is what we should do. Trusting that the managers and are doing their job and know what to do. Managers trusting those who are the operators. So now the issue where any experienced or any healthy leader should know how to play within their boundaries. Where organ-driven development comes is the main issue that instigates organ-driven development is if your recruitment pipeline is horrible. So if you don't hire people who fit your company culture, who are aligned with your purpose, or who are competent to do their job, you become inclined to tell them how to do their job. It quickly builds up resentment and trauma, And then whenever you tell somebody to do something, you no longer trust that they'll be able to do it if you don't handhold them or follow up with them. So if you hire quality people who have high level of integrity, you should be able to trust them to build their own, to do their job effectively. However, that is, the ideal situation. Like in a situation where you have a lean team where the founder has also engineering skills, you get you so you're doing two things. Like in my case, that's happened multiple times. I have solid engineering experience, but then what I have done in recent time is to hire team leads who I trust. So I don't check in with the developers myself unless we are getting on 1v1 calls or they reach out to me for help. But then I tell them what to do. They tell me they're going to do it and when they're going to do it. And I expect that they get back to tell me this went bad and this will go bad. So the solution, let me just summarize, is having strong company culture. No matter how large or small your company is, if you have good company culture on meritocracy, which means your titles mean nothing. Meritocracy is, whoever has ideas or implementation has the highest merit should win the decision. It does not matter whether it's CEO or product manager. Respect people's job descriptions that I've given them. If you cannot, there's most investors will tell you fire faster than you hire. So if you cannot trust that this person can no longer do their job, fire them immediately. So I don't build up trauma. Then accountability and over communication. So over communication, everybody who works with me knows that no matter the time of the day, there's something that you need my help for, you have my personal line to call immediately. So communicate success and communicate failure as fast as possible. Now, because if you're in a healthy environment and there's trust, you should be able to communicate that you failed at something and not have that tarnish your image or reputation in the company. Do you understand? So those are the core values that make, so if that exists, then it's easy to find out, to weed out organic development. However, there are some just bad founders. And I always advise people, if you're working in a place where it's organic development, start looking for your next job. It's not your job to fix company culture, it's the founder's job. And if you're not doing that job correctly, you cannot do your job efficiently. Yeah.
That's fair. And I found Netflix reference interesting. But yes, I like the part about accountability and over communication, successes and failures at the same time. So that's really good. Um, Purity, hi, are you here? If you're speaking, you're muted.
Yeah, 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 I'm here.
Cool. All right. So you're my PM. How do you handle organ driven development? So depending on the company structure, like Kosi has rightly said, sometimes you the founders may be the ones to bear the brunt. Sometimes they're going to obviously transfer that whole aggression or whatever ill feeling they have towards the PMs, right? So how do you
Mm.
handle organ driven development? Like what are some ways like you ensure that your team is, especially in cases where you cannot avoid it, like you have to do whatever it is that they're asking you to do. How do you probably still bring out that expectation and still create a product that you can go home and be proud of at the end of the day?
Yeah. So thank you for this question itself. Like I'm on it product itself where my two bosses want that particular feature. But the thing is, it's going to stress my developers and it's going to cause a lot of chaos to the rest of the products because it's an infra product, right? And and it's going to really scatter a lot in code base wise. It's going to scatter a lot, and they want that feature, but I have been soliciting for a more better way, or let's copy it out, let's remove it. But in the perspective is what they really want. But in my own perspective, I saw it as something that is really going to be very difficult to manage if not handled well. But however, uh, because it's a case I can't run away from, or it is a thing that is there, I have to maybe have a late night call with both of them to really understand why they really need this feature to be there. because left to me, that feature will not be there. Why they really need that feature to be there, and I saw from their perspective why they need it. I had to find a solution that is not exactly what they want. It's not exactly how they want it, but what they want to cut the problem that we are most likely to face in the future. So this is happening everywhere, not just the example I gave. I mean, everybody in their life or as a PM has faced Oga driven whatever feature or product itself, where Oga is giving what they want, but you know yourself that it's not feasible or it's not attainable. And the best solution is to always get their perspective and find way to solve it. You as a PM should be able to find a solution, to be honest. Should be able to find a solution when a particular feature is being thrown to you. As much as we want to argue or want to have the back and forth of I really don't want it to be, or it's not a feasible product. It's always very good to understand their perspective. When I had a call with them, I was able to understand the reason why they wanted that product, or sorry, that feature in that product, and it was like a great reason. To be honest, it was a great reason, but we had to find a way we could solve that problem, but in a different way. And it made I mean if we were to go with their flow, it would have been a chaos, and it wouldn't be so much accessible when when the product scatters. Nobody is going to use it. So to me, I always consider accessibility. I always consider the feature of the product when putting any kind of thing inside of feature or whatever it is into the product. Working with a team, one of the core feature we don't neglect it is accessibility. It's something we can't compromise. As much as it has to be, it's coming from the boss or whoever it's coming from. Accessibility is something we can't compromise. I've never had to compromise accessibility in any projects that I'm working on. So organ driven products or organ driven requests, it's always there. It's very common, but look at again two sides of the coin. Why are you needing it, and then project whatever solution I'm going to give to you. So it's better to really understand, break down what they really need, and then find a solution within your team, a better way that it can be built. If we had gone with their flow, it would have been very difficult for my team to handle. I would have taken a longer process. But I understood their perspective. We had to find a solution to that request from them. So, in my own opinion, look at the two sides of the coin, to be honest.
I like that approach, like asking what the outcome is and figuring out a process that would work with what you currently have going on. I figure like basically just means founders too, they have pain points. So as you're asking for the pain points of users, you also want to know what the founder pain points is and try to get to the build point. See? That's really cool. Thank you so much. Um so Elio, thank you for joining us. Can you hear me? Hi Elio, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, awesome.
Mic
So
check 1, 2.
yeah, mic check. Um so Kosi has answered the question about organ driven development, right? And then Purity has also answered it from the perspective of a PM. Then I think my final question to you on this same category would be how you handle balancing your ideas and thoughts and then the practicality of execution. So now Purity has mentioned that it can be a case where you come and you ask the founders to basically understand what they are hoping to achieve, whatever it is that they have that they've come to propose and say we need to get this done, we need to give it out in a situation where obviously this is a good um sort of outcome where purity was able to figure out a way to incorporate their outcome into the process that they currently had going on, right? In a case where she comes back or maybe the PM comes back and they say, I'm really sorry, I've thought about this and I cannot see how it goes into the current flow that we have, right? How do you handle that that feedback and then your expectations?
Okay. So first things first, like Kosi said, I do meritocracy. So it's not because I'm the one who brought up the idea. I take myself out of the picture to say, okay, hey guys, let's discuss this idea, this concept, this thought, right? Let's trash it end to end. That's one. I also, like Purity said, I also do Purity step wherein I tell my team that, okay, see guys, this is why I am saying this. I'm not just saying this, but this is why I'm saying this, right? So in the event that the PM comes back to say, oh, this thing is not going to work, right? Um, you know, so again, before I would have come with that, I would come, first of all, I would come with um proof or evidence or data or something to back my claim. I'm not just gonna say, hey guys, let's add AI to our products, right? I'm gonna, if we're gonna add AI, it's because I've seen a process that is slow, and AI is something that can really cut down that time. And I'm gonna come to my team to say, okay, look guys, this is what I've seen, right? Present that information, present that evidence, present that data, and then back up my claim. Now, if after doing that, my PM refuses that, then I think, I mean, I don't know how to say this, but yeah, like Kosi says, you fire more than you hire, or it would be an invitation, rather, it would be an invitation to query that PM's background, right? Because they're also coming from somewhere. So why are you kicking back against this? Then you too should also come with your own evidence, your own data to say, okay, AI could make this thing that is very slow faster, but maybe our users don't even have the literacy for AI or something. I don't know, right? Whatever your claim would be, yeah, then we can now achieve a goal at that. But I always expect that people who come to me should come to me with proof. And this is what I always tell my guys, don't just, because that's what I do, right? So don't just say, oh, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. There has to be a reason, right? A very verifiable reason behind that. So yeah, I don't know if that answers that question.
Yeah, it does. It's like I came with my data. If you're going to tell me that this doesn't work, I'm expecting you to come with your own data too. So it's like data and data matching. Cool. All right. So Amanda, in the case where everybody has brought their data, and probably the best data has won, or I don't know, yeah, sometimes it's not the best data that wins, to be honest. But let's say best outcome, yeah, the best data wins. Or unfortunately, the best data did not win. Then the bad data now won, and you've brought out a product that everybody's using. How do you take this feedback and then identify what's important? There's this quote about like where Henry Ford was like, if they asked human beings what they wanted, they would have asked for faster cars, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So how do you sometimes it's a balance between okay, I'm taking user feedback and I want to do stuff that will improve your experience. And sometimes it's this stuff that I'm giving you is the better one and it just takes a while for you to adapt it. Right. So how do you filter through that to say, okay, this is what's important, this is not what's important, or this is what I think is a better approach for you?
Okay. Well, just like you said, feedback comes in their droves, right? When you're a PM for a customer facing product, sometimes I even prefer to manage products that only the internal users use because it's less drama, right? But for the customer facing products, when one thing goes wrong, you get a ton of feedback about how it could be different, how it could be better. But it's important to listen to everybody and then identify like the common theme. Sometimes the customer will tell you, oh, if only it were this way and that way, then this would be better. But they're not actually right. I mean, they have good intentions and they want the thing to work best or better rather. But their suggestions don't usually solve the problem. So what I try to do is I listen to everything they have to say and I try to distill what the problem really is, because that's the most important thing. A lot of times people try to give you the solution. They tell you, oh, just build this thing for me and then that's going to solve my problem. But a lot of times their ideas aren't well thought out. And when you start to break those ideas down, you realize that it's not really going to achieve what you think it was going to do in the first place. So the goal really is to gather as much feedback as possible and ask, like there's my manager says something, he says to ask why 5 times, right? Why do you want this thing? Oh, I want it because so and so. And you keep asking why and why and why until you get to the root cause. Because sometimes people think they know what they want until you really make them question why they want what they want, right? So feedback is overwhelming, but honestly, in the weirdest way, I enjoy speaking with users. I enjoy user surveys and interviews because it allows me to see how people are using our product. Sometimes you get biased because you're behind the scenes of building things. You assume that things work well, right? Until you speak to users or even some internal users as well. And then they tell you the issues they're encountering using that product. So basically, when you speak to users and you get their feedback, be sure that you're not just gathering ideas for solutions. So what you should focus on is understanding what the core problem is at the end of the day. The solution can then come afterwards, right? So we have this framework that I typically use. It's called the double diamond framework. Basically, the first diamond is encourages you to just broaden, your search, try to figure out what the problem is, and then the second one forces you to converge and then think about a solution to the problem when you figured it out. So, I mean, I'm not afraid of feedback. I think the sketchy part is trying to understand when whoever is giving the feedback is just trying to force a particular solution as opposed to just making you understand what the problem is. So I think that's my take on that.
That's amazing. I like that. I like how feedback is not scary, and then you can keep asking questions to better understand what it is the customer wants. Because sometimes somebody can say, "Oh, I don't like that the color is this way," and then you ask why, and you find out that it's most likely because maybe it's not compatible with their phone, or it's just the way that it's built, that kind of thing. So maybe when you
Exactly.
ask more questions, you get to understand that it's not particularly that it's this specific thing. It's more that maybe the user experience is not needs to be improved. That's great. All right, as we round up, I want to ask like everybody final questions, right? As technology evolves, I think it was earlier that brought up the topic of AI, where I think we've gone past the point where everybody's asking if AI will collect my job. And then we're now, how do we learn how to use it to make our lives better? Like, obviously, it's here to stay. You cannot go. Maybe you can go, to be honest, but yeah, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. But so like as technology evolves, what future trends or changes would you say can shape how we build products for everyday users? So it's been a while. We heard from Kosi. Okay. I don't know if Kosi is responding to my question. Okay, he's contributing to the discussion um on where Amanda was answering about feedback. And because he's saying in healthy companies, we typically ban the founders from commenting on some product related decisions unless they're a subset of the users themselves. That's very healthy. All right. So I think, Amanda, are you fine with going first for this last question? So I think you can go first, then Eliel, then Purity,
Okay.
then Kosi. So my question is, as technology evolves, right? What future trends or changes do you think will shape how we build products for everyday users?
Well, I think with you know, the dawn of AI. Obviously, AI is taking over everything. So I see that becoming even more and more prevalent in the products we use. A lot of companies are jumping on the AI trend, trying to add, even if it doesn't do anything special, to be honest. Everybody wants to just say that they have AI in their product, which is fine, I guess. But I think more importantly, the future trends that I foresee, I just see a world where people may not even need to interact with a lot of products, maybe a lot of Internet of Things related products, just things that make life even easier than it is now, right? Not quite sure how that would look. I mean, I think that would probably look like a dystopian society, but I think that's where technology is headed. To a point where people may not even need to physically interact with a lot of things that they use. You might just use a whole bunch of voice prompts, some wireless la di da, right? So that's what I think the future holds for now. I mean, it's hard to imagine so much more since the dawn of AI because a lot of sci-fi and a lot of, tech buzz over the years has led up to this point. So I'm not quite sure what the future looks like right now, but I think I just see a future where things get even more and more accessible or easier because of AI and whatever other invention they'll throw at us. So yeah.
I was muted,
All
sorry.
right, so that
Yeah.
yeah, so how does or how will technology trends shape the way we build products in the future? I think we're gonna see more niche products. Like you're pretty much gonna find products that do something very, 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 very niche. I think that's one trend I see in the future. I think we'll also build products that would optimize for connection. Connection optimize by that I mean, most especially if you're in a product that's maybe people centered or something. You might want to find more ways to speak volumes directly value to your customer, right? What else? I think we will also build products that I think is going to be a very, very, how will I say this? The concept is, your product really, really has to be good to be able to thrive. I think I see that trend in the future, right? I don't think, if your product is something that's shaky or not well refined, things like that, you can still make headway. I think if your product is really, really good and it's going to thrive, I think that's going to continue in the future. So yeah, I think that's just simply it from my end. So yeah, more niche products, optimizing for connection, and more focus on, you know, functionality or value or something like that. Yeah.
Cool. So no more building for just building's sake. All right. PVC.
Okay, realistically, I would say is I mean, remember when we had to queue to collect money or send money in banks? I mean, right now we can just stay at home and then send money. I mean, I would call, and then we have people graduating and writing thank you, ChatGPT, the rest of it. We can see the parts. It's people want a simple life. They don't want like that stress. People don't want that stress, and I think it's something that will be people will be incorporating into their products. They want something that solve users' need. Very simple. If I'm open a product or if I open an app and it stresses me, I'm closing the application. So even if we're going into AI, everybody is fighting for an AI or is solving an AI product that is very or gives the right solution to the user's request. I mean, if you go on Twitter, people saying comparing Claude AI with ChatGPT, there is a reason why there has to be different reasons why they are comparing it. It's either Claude AI is giving a better answer than ChatGPT. At the end of the day, what is this thing solving to users? Very simple life. Nobody wants to stress their brain to research something on Google. You open your Claude AI. Everybody wants something that is very simple, a solution that is very seamless. I think in the next 5 years, every you just be lying on the bed and then press something and then it happens. Things are revolving. Like I said, we used to queue to send money, but now it's just on your bed. You don't receive them. Yeah, I don't receive them. It's very simple. And now you just research your project work on ChatGPT, and it's very easy to get. So people are looking for something very simple. They don't need something to stress them. So the changes I believe that is going to happen is how users are using the product, how you how simple it is for users to use a product, or are they getting the solution just in a second? Are you giving them the rightful thing? They don't need to make a request. No, ChatGPT, I stress in my brain. You put it in a human form, some sort of. So people are looking for a solution that is going to be so seamless for them to use. So yeah, that's changes that I believe that in the next 5, 10 years, like I said, you just be lying on your bed, everything will just be happening. So human beings want to be lazy. So we'll help them build a product that is going to help them become so lazy. Yeah.
Amazing. Everybody's optimizing for ease, and yeah. Um, Kosi, you're rounding us up.
What a rare privilege. Thank you. Okay, so I think everybody has already obviously said it. The new trend is generative AI. I think it's like when we saw, I don't know, this is a problem, very young audience, so maybe if people will know when we had Nitel, we used to clock. You need to we used to stand in queues to go make phone calls. Yeah, and when typewriters were phased out, you should stand in line to type out documents. So I think that's what Gen AI is doing when it comes to building products. We're going to see people build faster products or have faster iterations. And for in terms of mental health, most tech people usually come with are usually on the spectrum. It's a variant of ADHD or ADHD. And the number one issue that comes with is something called executive dysfunction. So they have their prefrontal cortex is usually short circuited when it comes to receiving impulse and motivation. So they struggle to kick off tasks, but once they lock in, they are locked in. However, so that also affects people who are wearing multiple hats. Those are technical product managers here would know what I'm talking about. When you're focused with a lot of tasks that involve you thinking and writing, low level tasks become burdensome. That stress you're facing in executing. So maybe typically you used to, some engineers would know this, used to be able to create tasks, update tasks, point them. Now you have to write articles, write product roadmap. You're thinking about that, and then you have three engineers reporting to you, and you don't know how to. You don't have the time. Your founder or your manager has told you update this ticket, and you're just stressed out. So that feeling is called executive dysfunction. I think that is where generative AI can help in with already existing automations. For example, at Tascon, we already have some products that will be completely, if it's a simple website, a simple landing page, and we want to get users to sign up, we no longer build it. We use generative AI to build the entire thing and deploy it. So those are low level. So I think that is one way generative AI is going to influence building products. Those repetitive routine tasks that are from um, unnecessary reach outs, some things that constitute yak shaving, like Godson once spoke about in one of your sessions, those things can be delegated to generative AI, and then we focus on high level, critical, human centric tasks. Also, when it comes to um, market research and iteration, I think for those that still like to send Google Forms and all that, I think chat systems could replace that, whereby you have automated sales calls where you could have conversations, have a system, have conversations with your users and gather contextual feedback and send it to a pipeline as against to sending forms and tracking when those forms have been filled and all that. So I think that is why I think these emerging technologies or emerging tech trends would influence product development.
If everybody's lazy, how do you want to do the more intense human focused human
Um,
focused?
okay, let me quickly chip it. So what we Africans call laziness is actually that set of executive dysfunction. Do you get? Um, Let me say this. Let me so you know when an African calls you lazy, it's because oh you're too lazy to do this house chores and all that. You're too lazy to wash clothes. So there's a certain level of laziness that necessitates invention. Do you get? People God sense can attest to this. I We like to hire people who have a certain level of laziness, as far as you're not mentally lazy. Because if I tell you to do something and it stresses you, but you're an intelligent person, you would find a way to automate it. And most of the inventions and automations we've had are from those who have that kind of laziness. And Bill Gates said it, in fact, the first time I felt seen was when Bill Gates spoke about hiring a certain type of lazy people. So if you're a high level thinker, routine tasks would bore you, or if you have any form of if you're on the spectrum have any form of neurodivergent syndrome, you're going to have executive dysfunction. Those people are the best people to hire to lead products, because once something bores them, once they become unmotivated to do something, they are finding an excellent way to automate it, and that breeds innovation in your company. Yeah.
Hallelujah. Amen. Because I don't have any other addition to make to that. But yeah, thank you so much, Chrissy. Oh, that's a very like good finish to the topic. Um, I think we've been having conversations in the chat, so I don't know if there are people that have questions. I'm gonna stop the recording now, and then if you have questions, you can feel free to ask them. It's not recorded. Don't worry.